All right, just taking a quick look at this new Model Y. This facelift, it does look a lot better. This was something that, a lot of people, they didn't like. You know what I mean? They didn't like it. They didn't like how it used to look. So now it looks different. So chances are it's going to look better. If it didn't look good before and they changed it, now it's more likely to look better. Whether it looks better, it depends on who you ask. You know what I mean? It depends on who you ask. If you ask me, yeah, it looks better. It does look a lot better. Like I said, does this look good? It does. In some of these pictures, it does look pretty good. Some of them, it's kind of okay. But because the old one didn't look so good, you see what I'm saying? So the number one thing up front is the new light bar. It's a three-section light bar. Is it like the Cybertruck? I don't know. What's this? See this? There's like a little split at the end. I guess it's an interesting design detail. I'd be curious to see like how much of that you actually notice in real life, because the light itself, is bright. So does it get washed out? I don't know. And then what's interesting is the Model Y, we actually keep the air curtains on the side here. So the Model 3 refresh, they got rid of it, on the regular versions. The performance Model 3 still has them. But yeah, those are just, it's an aerodynamic aid. It kind of uses the air that goes in those vents there, or those ducts, to kind of shield the front wheels. And it's almost like having an aerodynamic cover over the wheels. So now, of course, the Model Y being, taller, having more frontal area, I guess they would need to keep all of the aerodynamic tricks, to keep the range, up. Maybe they didn't feel it was necessary on the Model 3, or maybe it was just cost cutting. I don't know. So, and then we'll talk about these a little bit more here in a second. And another interesting detail here is on the side mirrors, we get these high-mounted turn signals, real thin LED strips. But I do like, high-mounted. I mean, you're going to be able to see them a little bit better. And, if you really like that Cybertruck or Robo-Taxi look, you might want to go for the silver. So then guess what? Yeah, there's a new blue. It's almost like ice metallic blue. So, it's it's another option. I would, honestly, if you're going to buy one of these, go for one of the colors here. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I see a Tesla, it's either like white or black. You know what I mean? Like, it's either white or black. Like, go for, they do offer colors here. Go for one of those. Go for this one. Actually, this one looks great. And what's interesting in this photo too is we can actually see the actual headlight is right there. So of course there's one on the other side. Yeah, so they're behind this like smoked, it's very dark smoked lens. So when I say the actual headlight, the one that actually illuminates the road, the light bar is, this is just for looks. It's just, it's well, I mean, you could say, well, it's the daytime running light. Yeah, it's for safety as well. But so yeah, interesting though how much they've tried to hide that by smoking this lens, very dark. In fact, that's kind of a theme. We'll get to that more when we get to the taillight, when we get to the rear end. On the side, it's, this is a facelift, so it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. I guess you do notice kind of the front fascia. Actually, you do notice that quite a lot, even from the side. And yeah, the very dark, very, very dark taillights. And of course, this is to match all of the black trim, right? So everything that was chrome or bright in the windows, the window trim too, right? That's all dark. Everything, it's a very dark theme here. And you can go for some dark wheels as well, depending on how much you like the dark theme. But I don't know, I kind of like the contrast. I kind of like the silver wheels, honestly. The black, I don't know. There's so many cars are going with black wheels now. Silver it's a timeless thing, it always looks good. And these taillights are very dark, as I mentioned. Now, there's a reason for that, yeah, because they kind of wanted to emphasize this new design cue where the rear light bar actually reflects down onto this panel. So this is all like reflected light here. You know, this is just reflecting from the light bar above it. It really, yeah, it's a very cool effect. You know, I don't know how much of this you would actually see during the day, but yeah, at night it's gonna look cool. It's gonna look cool for sure. And even probably, yeah, this is like, you know, just after sunset. It's probably gonna look fantastic in these kind of conditions. And of course, if you really zoom in there, yes, of course, the Tesla script is there as well. So it highlights that as well. And, you know, of course, one thing to note here is, yeah, these are all, you know, the Chinese market cars. So, you know, will the U.S. get taillights this dark? Especially around, this is where the reflector's at. I don't know. There might be a little bit more bright red on the U.S. versions, which I don't think would be a bad thing. To me, it almost looks, yeah, just, there's too much black, I think. There is like a little light there that's required, you know, so you have some light visible from the side. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see how that, you know, pans out. Another thing I do like, though, about the way they've actually shaped these taillights is I do like how this part kicks up here, lines up with the pillar coming off the roof. So that's just good design. And then just to kind of throw this into Photoshop, just so you can kind of see, I guess this is what the actual light bar, the tail light will look like, or the part that actually illuminates directly will be like this tiny little strip. You know, I don't think they're relying 100% on the reflected light shining down to serve as the tail light. I think there is going to be a slim strip here that does directly point outwards. And on the inside, we get very similar to the new Model 3. You know, we do get that ambient light that wraps all the way around the cockpit, which does look good. You know, the revised center console, the revised seats. And supposedly, we can't see it in this image, but yes, supposedly they did keep the turn signal stock. So that's interesting. That's interesting, isn't it? I wonder, I mean, you'd have to imagine that they were planning on getting rid of that as well. But maybe the backlash, maybe that actually worked, you know? Maybe everyone who complained about that, maybe they heard it. And so, yeah, evidently this thing does keep the traditional turn signal stock. And that is good news. That is good news. So you're going to have really all the other upgrades from the new Model 3, and you're going to keep the turn signal stock. And supposedly, yes, it's going to be quieter, it's going to ride better, all that stuff. But we're talking about the interior here. We're not talking about how it drives or how it rides. You know, look at the image that we're looking at here. It tells you everything. It's the interior. It's the interior. So yeah, the kind of the revised seats, as I mentioned, and in the back, yeah, we do get that new screen, which to me is a gimmick. It's a gimmick. It really looks like a gimmick in this image here. Evidently, there's two people in the back seat playing this racing game, and there's no controller, you know, gamepad. Evidently, you have to hold your hand, you have to hold your arm out the entire time at this screen and press these control buttons right here. Nobody's going to do this, right? No, nobody's going to do that. Your arm's going to be tired after like 30 seconds.